Okay, cue curtain. Henry? Do we have a Henry? What are you not doing here today? It's my at-home day. You promised not to come.
Oh, bother.
Go home at once.
I know, Mother. I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, dear. You offend all my friends. They stop coming whenever they meet you.
Nonsense. I know I have no small talk, but people don't mind.
Oh, don't they? Small talk indeed. What about your large talk? Really, dear, you mustn't stay.
I must. I have a job for you. A phonetic job.
No use, dear. I'm sorry. I can't get around your vowels. And though I like getting pretty postcards in your patent shorthand, I always have to read the copies in ordinary writing you so thoughtfully send me.
Well, this isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. I picked up a girl.
Does that mean some girl has picked you up?
Not at all. I don't mean a love affair.
What a pity.
Why?
Well, you never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you discover that there are some rather nice-looking young women about?
Oh, I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is something as like you as possible. I shall never get into the way of seriously liking young women. Some habits lie too deep to be changed. Besides, they're all idiots.
Know what you would do if you really loved me, Henry?
Oh, bother. What? Marry, I suppose.
No! Stop fidgeting and take your hands out of your pockets! That's a good boy. Now tell me about the girl.
She's coming to see you.
Oh, I don't remember asking her.
You didn't. I asked her. If you'd known her, you wouldn't have asked her.
Indeed, why?
Well, it's like this. She's a common flower girl. I picked her off the curbstone.
And invited her to my at-home.
Oh, that'll be all right. I've taught her to speak properly, and she has strict orders as to her behavior. She's to keep to two subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Fine day and how do you do, you know? And not let herself go on things in general. That will be safe.
Oh, safe! To talk about our health, about our insides, perhaps about our outsides. How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she must talk about something. Oh, she'll be all right. Don't you fuss. Pickering is in on it with me. I've got sort of a bet on that I'll pass her off as a duchess in 6 months. I started on her some months ago, and she's getting on like a house on fire. I shall win my bet. She has a quick ear, and she's been easier to teach than my middle-class pupils because she's had to learn a complete new language. She talks English almost as you talk French.
That's satisfactory at all events.
Well, it is and it isn't.
What does that mean?
You see, I've got her pronunciation all right, but you have to consider not only how a girl pronounces, but what she pronounces. And that's where Mrs. and Miss Ainsford Hill.
How do you do? How do you do?
My son, Henry.
Oh, your celebrated son. I have so longed to meet you, Professor Higgins.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've seen you before somewhere. I haven't the ghost of a notion where, but I've heard your voice. It doesn't matter. You'd better sit down.
I'm sorry to say that my celebrated son has no manners. You mustn't mind him.
I don't. Not at all.
Oh, have I been rude? I didn't mean to be. Colonel Pickering.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
So good of you to come. Mrs. Ainsford Hill? Miss Ainsford Hill.
Has Henry told you what we've come for?
We were interrupted, damn it.
Oh, Henry, really?
Are we in the way?
No, not at all. You couldn't have come more fortunately. We want you to meet a friend of ours.
Yes, by George, we want 2 or 3 people. You'll do as well as anybody else. Mr. Ainsford Hill. How do you do?
Oh, so good of you to come, Colonel Pickering.
How do you do?
And I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
How do you do? I'll take my oath I've met you before somewhere. Where was it? I don't think so. It doesn't matter anyhow. Sit down. Well, here we are anyhow. And now what the devil are we going to talk about until Eliza comes?
Oh, Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. That's because now you're. Oh, yes, Henry, really. Don't sit on my writing table, you'll break it. Oh, that's wrong. I just jumped. I never do that. Is that right? No. 9.
Henry, you are the life and the soul.
Ah, that's what it was. Thank you, Henry. You are the life and soul of the Royal Society soirees, but you're really rather trying on more commonplace occasions.
Am I? Very sorry. I suppose I am, you know.
I sympathize. I haven't any small talk. If people would only be frank and say what they really think.
Lord forbid.
But why?
What they think they ought to think is bad enough, Lord knows. But what they really think would break up the whole show. Do you suppose it would be really agreeable if I were to come out now with what I really think?
Is it so very cynical?
Cynical? Who the dickens said it was cynical? I mean, it wouldn't be decent.
I'm sure you don't mean that, Mr. Higgins.
You see, we're all savages, more or less. We're supposed to be civilized and cultured, to know all about poetry and philosophy and art and science and so on. But how many of us even know the meanings of these names? What do you know of poetry? What do you know of science? What does he know of art or science or anything else? What the devil do you imagine I know of philosophy?
Or of manners, Henry.
Miss Doolittle.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
Well, how do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
I believe we have met somewhere before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter Clara.
How do you do? How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son Freddie.
How do you do?
By George, yes, it all comes back to me. Covent Garden. What a damn thing.
Henry, please, don't sit on my writing table, you'll break it.
Sorry.
Will it rain, do you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
Aha, how awfully funny.
What was wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Killing.
I do hope it won't turn cold. There is so much influenza about. It runs right through our whole family regularly every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said. But it's my belief they'd done the old woman in.
Done her in?
Yes, Lord love you. Why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Fairly blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead, but my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat till she came to so sudden that she bit the bull off the spoon.
Dear me!
What call would a woman of that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it. What I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
What does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
You sure. You surely don't believe your aunt was killed.
Do I not? Then she lived with would have killed her for a hot pin, let alone a hat.
How? Fine.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it.
Do you mean he drank?
Drank? My word, something chronic.
How dreadful for you.
Not a bit. But then he did not keep it up regular. On the burst, as you might say, from time to time. And always more agreeable when he'd had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him 4 pence and tell him to go out and not to come back home until he'd drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There's lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. You see, it's like this. If a man has a bit of a conscience, it always takes him when he's sober and makes him low-spirited. A drop of booze just takes that off and makes him happy. Here, what are you sniggering at?
The new small talk. You do it so awfully well.
If I was doing it proper, then what was you laughing at? Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Well, that's a mercy anyhow. What I always say is,
Ahem.
well, I must be going. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so,
What? Not bloody likely. I am going in a taxi.
Well, I really can't get used to the new ways.
Oh, it's all right, Mama. Quite right. People will think we never go anywhere, see anybody if you're so old-fashioned.
I dare say I am very old-fashioned. But I hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I have got accustomed to you talking about men as rotters and calling everything filthy and beastly. But this last is just really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering?
Don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years and manners have changed so much that I sometimes don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or in a ship's forecastle.
It's all a matter of habit, and nobody means anything by it. There's no right or wrong in it. And it gives such smart emphasis to things that are not in themselves very witty. I find the new small talk delightful and quite innocent.
Well, after that, I think it's time we should go.
Oh yes, we have 3 at-homes to go to still. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Goodbye, Colonel Pickering. Goodbye, Professor Higgins.
goodbye. Be sure you try on that small talk at 3 at-homes. Don't be nervous about it. Pitch it in strong.
I will. Goodbye. Such nonsense, all this early Victorian prudery.
Such damned nonsense.
Such bloody nonsense.
Clara! Oh, it's no use. I'll never be able to bring myself. Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Don't. It's not compulsory, you know. You'll get on quite well without it.
Did we just cut him? We cut Freddie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're not here. It's really hard. Okay, sorry.
No, it just is a cross. That's the only reason.
Start from
Goodbye.
Freddie.
Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Don't mind Clara. We're so poor, and she gets so few parties, poor child. She doesn't quite know. Oh. But the boy is nice, don't you think so?
Oh, quite nice. I shall always be delighted to see him.
Oh, thank you, dear. Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
Huh, you silly boy. Of course she's not presentable. She's a triumph of your art and of her dressmakers. But if you suppose for one moment that she doesn't give herself away in every sentence she utters, you must be perfectly cracked about her.
But don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element from a conversation?
Not as long as she's in Henry's hands.
Do you mean that my language is improper?
No, dear. Your language is quite proper, say on a canal barge. But it would not be proper for her at a garden party.
Well, I must say.
Come, Higgins, you must learn to know yourself. I haven't heard such language as yours since I used to review the volunteers in Hyde Park 20 years ago.
Oh, well, if you say so. I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop.
Colonel Pickering, will you tell me what is the exact state of things at Wimple Street?
Well, I've come to live there with can we? We work together at my Indian dialects, and we think it more convenient.
Quite so, I know all about that. It's an excellent arrangement. But where does the girl live?
With us, of course. Where would she live?
But on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, what is she?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins.
Well, dash me if I do. I've had to work with the girl every day for months to get her to her present pitch. Besides, she's useful. She knows where my things are and remembers my appointments and so forth.
And how does your housekeeper get along with her?
Mrs. Pierce? Oh, she's jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. For before Eliza came, she had to find my things and remind me of my appointments. But she's got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps saying, "You don't think, sir," doesn't she, Pip?
Yes, that's the formula. You don't think, sir. That's the end of every conversation about Eliza.
As if I ever stopped thinking about the girl and her confounded vowels and consonants. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of the lot.
You certainly are a pretty pair of babies playing with your live doll.
Playing? The hardest job I've ever tackled, make no mistake about that, Mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It's filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
Yes, it's enormously interesting. I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day, almost, there's some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs.
Yes, by George, it's the most absorbing experiment I ever tackled. She regularly fills our lives, doesn't she, Pip?
And we're always talking Eliza,
Teaching Eliza.
dressing Eliza.
What?
Inventing new Eliza.
I assure
You
you,
know,
my
she's the
dear
most
Mrs.
extraordinary
Higgins,
creature.
that girl is a
She's
genius.
like
She can play
Harry,
piano quite
Harry,
beautifully. We have taken her to
Possible
classical concerts and the musical,
Harry,
and it's all the
Harry,
same to her. She
Harry,
plays everything. She
Harry,
is right off when she comes home, whether it's
Harry,
Beethoven,
Harry,
Mahler, or
Harry,
Lehigh,
Harry,
Lionel Morgan. Though
Harry,
6
Harry,
months
Harry,
ago,
Harry,
she had
Harry,
never
Harry,
as much as touched a key at... I beg your pardon.
Sorry, when Pickering starts shouting, nobody can get a word in edgeways.
Be quiet, Henry! Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Wimple Street, something walked in with her?
Her father did, but Henry soon got rid of him.
It would have been more to the point if her mother had. But her mother didn't. Something else did.
But what?
A problem.
Oh, I see, the problem of how to pass her off as a lady.
I'll solve that problem. I've half solved it already.
No, you two infinitely stupid male creatures. The problem of what to be done with her afterwards.
I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with all the advantages I have given her.
Oh, advantages of that poor woman that was here just now. The manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that will be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
She's happy enough. Don't you worry about her. Goodbye.
Anyhow, there's no good bothering now. The thing's done. Goodbye,
There are
Mother.
plenty of openings. We'll do what's right. Goodbye.
Let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court.
Yes, let's. Her remarks will be delicious.
She'll mimic all the people for us when we get home.
Ripping.
Oh, men! Men! Men.
want anything more, do we?
Lord, no.
I say, Mrs. Pierce will row if we leave these things lying about in a drawing room.
Oh, chuck them over the banisters into the hall. She'll find them there in the morning and put them away, all right?
No.
She'll think we were drunk.
We are slightly. Are there any letters?
I didn't look. I wonder where the devil are my slippers are.
Only this circulars and this corneted billet do for you.
Moneylender. Oh Lord, what an evening. What a crew. What a silly tomfoolery. Oh, there they are they?
Well, I feel a bit tired. It's been a long day. The garden party, the dinner party, and the opera. Rather too much of a good thing. But you won your bet, Higgins. Eliza did the trick. And something to spare, eh?
Thank God it's over.
Were you nervous at the garden party? I was. Eliza didn't seem a bit nervous.
Oh, she wasn't nervous. I knew she'd be all right. No, it's the strain of putting the job through all these months that's had a toll on me. It was interesting enough at first while we were at the phonetics, but after that I got deadly sick of it. If I hadn't backed myself to do it, I should have chucked the whole thing up in 2 months. 2 months ago. It was a silly notion. The whole thing has been a bore.
Oh, come, the garden party was frightfully exciting. My heart began beating like anything.
Yes, for the first 3 minutes. But when I saw we were going to win hands down, I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. The dinner was worse, sitting, gorging there for over an hour with nobody but a damned fool of a fashionable woman to talk to. I tell you, Pickering, never again for me. No more artificial duchesses. The whole thing has been simple purgatory.
You've never been broken in properly to the social routine. I rather enjoy dipping into it occasionally myself. It makes me feel young again. Anyhow, it was a great success, an immense success. I was quite frightened once or twice because Eliza was doing it so well. You see, lots of the real people can't do it at all. They're such fools that they think style comes by nature to people in their positions, and so they never learn. There's always something professional about doing a thing superlatively well.
Yes, that's what drives me mad. The silly people don't know their own silly business. However, it's over and done with, and now I can go to bed at last without dreading tomorrow.
I think I shall turn in too. Still, it was a great occasion, a triumph for you. Good night.
Good night. Put up the lights, Eliza, and tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee for me in the morning. I'll take tea.
What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I was dead. I'm nothing to you. Not so much as them slippers.
Those slippers.
Those slippers. I didn't think it made any difference now.
Why have you begun going on like this? May I ask whether you complain of your treatment here?
No.
Has anybody behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering, Mrs. Pierce, any of the servants?
No.
I presume you don't pretend that I've treated you badly.
No.
I'm glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No. Thank you.
This has been coming on you for some days. I suppose it was natural for you to be anxious about the garden party. But that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
Line. Line.
No, nothing more for you to worry
No,
about.
nothing more for you to worry about. Oh God, I wish I was dead.
Why? In heaven's name, why? Listen to me, Eliza. All this irritation is purely subjective.
Oh, I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
It's only imagination. Low spirits and nothing else. Nobody's hurting you. Nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good girl and sleep it off. Have a little cry, say your prayers. That will make you comfortable.
I heard your prayers. Thank God it's all over.
Well, don't you thank God it's all over? Now you are free and can do what you like.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What's to become of me?
Oh, that's not what's worrying you, is it? I shouldn't bother about it if I were you. I should imagine you won't have it much difficulty in settling yourself somewhere or other, though I hadn't realized you were going away. You might marry, you know. You see, Eliza, all men are not confirmed old bachelors like me and the Colonel. Most men are the marrying sort. And you're not bad looking. It's quite pleasant to look at you sometimes. Not now, of course, because you're crying and you look as ugly as the very devil. But when you're all right and quite yourself, you're what I should call attractive. That is to the people of the married line, you understand. You go to bed and you should have a good night's rest, and then get up and look at yourself in the glass, and you won't feel so cheap. I dare say my mother could find a chap or two.
We were above that at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself. Now that you've made a lady of me, I'm not fit to sell anything else. I wish you left me where you found me.
Hush, Eliza, don't you insult human relations by dragging all this cant about buying and selling into it. You needn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else am I to do?
Oh, lots of things. What about your old idea of a florist shop? Pickering could set you up in one. He's lots of money. He'll have to pay for all those togs you've been wearing today, and that, with the hire of the jeweler, will make a big hole in 200 pounds. Why, 6 months ago you would have thought it the millennium to have a flower shop of your own. Come, you'll be all right. I must clear off to bed. I'm devilish sleepy. By the way, I came down for something. I forgot what it was.
Your slippers.
Oh yes, of course. You shouted them at me.
Before you go, sir, do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
What the devil use would they be to Pickering?
You might want them for the next girl you decide to pick up to experiment on.
Is that the way you feel towards us?
I don't want to hear anything more about that. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
What does it matter? Why need you start bothering about that in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I may take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. That shows a want of feeling.
I'm sorry. I'm only a common, ignorant girl. And there can't be any feelings between that and my station. I have to be careful. There can't be any feelings between the like of you and the like of me. Please, will you tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
You may take the whole damned house if you like, except the jewels. They're hired. Will that satisfy you?
Stop, please. Will you take these to your room and keep them safe?
I don't want to run the risk of their being missing.
Hand them over. If these belonged to me instead of to the jeweler, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat.
This ring isn't the jeweler's, it's the one you bought me in Brighton. I don't want it now. Don't you hit me!
Hit you, you infamous creature! How dare you accuse me of such thing? It is you who have hit me. You have wounded me to the heart.
I'm glad. I've had a little of my own back anyhow.
You have caused me to lose my temper. A thing that has hardly ever happened to me before. I prefer to say nothing more tonight. I'm going to bed.
You'd better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee, for she won't be told by me.
Damn Mrs. Pierce, and damn the coffee, and damn you, and damn my own folly in having lavished my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my regard and intimacy on a heartless gutter snipe. Mr. Henry, ma'am, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them up.
They're using the telephone, ma'am. Telephoning the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in a state, ma'am. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you had told me that Mr. Henry was not in a state, that would be more surprising. Tell them to come up when they finish with the police. He must have lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Mr. Henry and the Colonel are here. Ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Look here, Mother, here's a confounded thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. What is it?
Eliza's bolted.
Oh, you must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense! She was left last night as usual and turned out the lights and all that. And instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and the poor Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me a word about it. What am I to do?
Oh, do without, I'm afraid. The girl has a perfect right to leave if she chooses.
But I can't find anything. I don't know what appointments I've got.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that asshole inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
What? You don't mean to say you set the police after Eliza?
course. What are the police for? What else would we do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Oh, well, of course he did. What right have you to go to the police and give the girl's name as if she were a thief or a lost umbrella or something, really?
But we want to find her.
We can't let her go like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What were we to do?
Well, you have no sense, either of you. Then 2 children. Why would you go...
Mr. Henry, sir, a gentleman wants to see you very particular. He's been sent from Whipple Street.
Oh, Father, I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the dustman?
Dustman? Oh, no, sir, a gentleman.
By George, Pick, it's a relative of hers that she's gone to. Somebody we know nothing about. Send him up, quick.
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives, now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
See here, see this? You done this?
Done what, man?
Yes, look at it. Look at his hat. Look at his nose.
Eliza been buying you clothes?
Eliza, not she, not Af. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
Asking your pardon, Mum. Thank you. I'm at full of what's happened to me. I can't figure anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
I shouldn't mind it so much if it only happened to me, but this is something you've done to me. Yeah. Wait. I shouldn't mind if it's only something that happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody, and only Providence to blame. But this is something you've done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes.
You've all the luck you have. Now I ain't found her, but she'll find me soon enough now after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me, ruined me, destroyed me happiness, tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you and at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Oh, drunk am I? Mad am I? Tell me this, did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America what was given $5 million to found moral reform societies all over the world, and it wanted you to write a universal language for him?
What? Ezra D. Wanafella. He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead and I'm done for. Now did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moralist in all of England at present, to your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
Oh, after your last visit, I remember making some silly joke of the kind.
You may well call it a silly joke. Put a lid on me right enough. Just give him a chance he wanted to show that Americans is not like us, that they recognise and respect merit in every class of life, however humble. And words is in his blooming will, in which, Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joking, he leaves me a share in his pre-digested cheese trust worth $3,000 a year, on condition that I lecture for his Wanafella Moral Reform World League as often as they ask, up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does. Woo! What a lark.
A safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
Ain't a lecturing on mine. I'll lecture a blue in the face, I will, and not turn the air. It's making a gentleman of me that I object to. Who asked him to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty nigh everybody I want for money when I wanted it, same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now I'm worried, tied, neck and heels, and everybody touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. Is it, says I. You mean it's a good thing for you? Line.
When I was a poor man.
When I was a poor man, I had a solicitor once, and he found a pram in me dust cart. Well, he got me off, he got shut of me, he got me shut of him as quick as he could. Same with the doctors. When I was a poor man, they used to shove me out of the hospital before I could even stand on my legs. Nothing to pay. Now they find out I'm not a healthy man, can't live unless they looks after me twice a day. In the house, I'm not let to do a hand's turn for myself. Somebody else must do it and touch me at it. A year ago, I had a relative in the world that maybe 2 or 3 wouldn't speak to me. Now I'm 50, and not a decent week's wages among a lot of them. I've got to live for others and not myself. And that's middle class morality. You talk of losing Eliza. Don't you be anxious. I bet she's on me doorstep, Iris. She that could support herself easy by selling flowers if I wasn't respectable. Line.
And the next one?
And the next one to touch me would be you, Henry Higgins. Yeah, I'll have to learn to speak middle class language from you instead of speaking proper English. That's where you'll come in. I dare say that's what you've done it for.
But my dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you really are in earnest. No one can force you to accept this bequest. You can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
That's the tragedy of it, Mum. It's easy enough to say, chuck it. I haven't a nerve. Which one of us has? We're all intimidated. Intimidated, Mum, that's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck it by the workhouse in me old age? I have to tie my hair already to keep me job as a dustman. Line. If I was one of the deserving poor and had put by a bit, well, I could chuck it. But then why should I? Because the deserving poor might as well be millionaires for all the happiness they ever has. They don't know what happiness is, huh? But I, as one of the deserving poor, have nothing between me and the pauper's uniform with this blasted 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. Excuse the expression, Mum, but you'd use it yourself if you had my provocation. They got you everywhere you turn. It's a choice between the skilly of the workhouse and the sharp-eyedness of a middle class. I haven't a nerve for the workhouse. Line.
Intimidated.
Intimidated. That's what I am. Broke. Bought up. Happier men than me will call from the dust. Touch me for the tip. I look all helpless and envy him. That's what your son has brought me to.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her.
Yes, Mum. I'm expected to provide for everybody now out of 3,000 a year.
Nonsense. He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. She doesn't belong to him. I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, you're either an honest man or a rogue.
A little of both, Henry. Just like the rest of us. A little of both.
Well, you took that money for the girl, and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she's upstairs.
Upstairs? Then I shall jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Sit down.
I...
Sit down! And listen to me.
Oh, very well. Very well, very well. But I think you might have told me this a half hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partly walking about in a rage, partly trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to do so, and partly in the Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
Oh, my dear Mrs. Higgins. Oh, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally. We hardly said a word to her, and we parted on particularly good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Just the other way around. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room, before I had uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
Why? What did we do to her?
I think I have a pretty good idea what you did. I think she's rather naturally affectionate, isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Very tender-hearted, Mum. That's after me.
Oh, just so. She had become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you quite realize what anything in the nature of brainworks means to a girl like that. Well, it seems that when the great day of trial came, and she did this wonderful thing for you without making a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked to each other about how glad you were it was all over and how you were bored with the whole thing. And then you're surprised because she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed. Did we, Pip?
That was all.
Quite sure?
Absolutely, really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she'd been.
She knew about all that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't go back to Whipple Street. But since now Mr. Doolittle can keep up the position you have thrust upon her, but she says she is willing to meet on friendly terms and let bygones be bygones.
Is she? By George, ho!
If you promise to behave yourself, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home, for you have taken up quite enough of my time.
Oh, all right, very well. Pip, you behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this creature that we have picked out of the mud.
Oh, now, Henry Higgins, have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, would you be so good as to step out onto the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of your news until she's made up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, lady. Anything to help Henry keep her off of my hands.
Would you ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please?
Yes, Mum.
Be good, Henry.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He is doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
You don't look at all nice in that attitude, Henry.
I was not trying to look nice, Mother.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I only wanted you to speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
Am I?
But of course you are. You are never ill. So glad to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try this game with me. I taught it to you, and it doesn't take me in. Get up and come home, and don't be a fool.
Oh, very nice indeed, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
You let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has an idea that I haven't put into her head or a word that I haven't put in her mouth. I tell you, I've created this thing out of squashed cabbage leaves in Covent Garden, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear, but you will sit down, won't you?
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't you? You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
But I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I should be terribly unhappy if you forgot about me.
That's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you are generous to everybody with money. But you see, it was from you that I learnt really nice manners. And that is what makes one a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself and using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave that way if you hadn't been there.
Well,
Oh, that's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
Oh, of course. It is only my... I didn't mean it either when I was a flower girl. It was only my way. But you see, I didn't. And that's what makes the difference, after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak, and I couldn't have done that, you know.
Of course. That is his profession.
damnation.
You see, it was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more to it than that. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
Your calling me Miss Doolittle that first day when I came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there are 100 little things that you did that you never noticed. Things like standing up and taking off your hat and opening a door.
Oh, that was nothing.
Yes, things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I was something better than a scullery maid. Though of course I knew you would have been just the same to a scullery maid if she had been met in the drawing room. You never took off your boots when I was in the dining room.
Oh, you mustn't mind that. Higgins throws his boots all over the place.
Oh, I'm not blaming him. It is only his way, isn't it? Line.
But it made such difference.
But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly. Line.
Apart from the things anyone can
Apart from the things that anyone can pick up, the dressing and the proper way of speaking and so on, the real difference between a flower girl and a duchess is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you because you always treat me as a lady, and always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
This is really very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Oh, thank you. Liza, of course.
I should like for Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
I'll see you damned first.
Henry.
Oh, why don't you slang back at him? Don't stand it. It would do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have once, but now, line.
But now I can't go back to it.
But now I can't go back to it. When I was walking about last night, a girl spoke to me and I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can now speak nothing but yours. That is the real break-off from Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
Oh, but you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You forgive Higgins?
Forgive? Will she? By George. Let her go. Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
Oh, he's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No, not now. Never again. I have learnt my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old sounds if I tried. Ow!
Aha! Just so. Ow! Ow! Victory! Victory!
Can you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
I have. But I'm dressed something special today, Eliza. Going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother is going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that cruel, common woman?
He ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind?
Intimidated. Intimidated, Governor. Line.
Middle class morality. Claims.
Middle class morality claims its victim. Won't you come to the church, Eliza, see me turned off? Put on your hat. Come see me turned off.
If the Colonel says I must, I'll demean myself. Get insulted for my pains like enough.
Oh, don't be afraid. She never comes to words with anyone now. Poor woman. Respectability's broke all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, all right. I need to show there's no ill feeling. I'll be back in a moment.
I'm feeling uncommon anxious about this ceremony. Colonel, wish you'd come and see me put through it.
Oh, but you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
Who told you that, Colonel?
Well, nobody told me, but I concluded naturally.
Ain't a natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say nothing to Eliza. She don't know, and I always had a delicacy about telling her.
Quite right. We'll leave it so, if you don't mind.
So you'll come to the church, Colonel? See me put through straight?
With pleasure, as far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I would be very sorry to miss your wedding.
I'll be indeed be honoured by your condescension, Mum. And me poor old woman would take it as a tremendous compliment. She's very low, thinking of the happy days at all no more.
I'll order a carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church, Eliza, to see your father married. Oh, you better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering can go with the bridegroom.
Bridegroom. What a word. Makes a man realise his position in life somehow.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive him and come back to us.
Don't you think Papa would allow me, would you, Dad?
Like,
They played you off.
they played you off very cunning, Eliza, them two sportsmen. If there'd been only one of them, you'd have nailed him, see? But, see, there were two. One of them chaperoned the other, as you might say. It was very artful of you, Colonel. I bear no malice. Should have done the same myself. I've been a victim of one woman after another all my life. Don't grudge you two getting the better of Eliza. Like,
I shan't
oh,
interfere.
I shan't interfere. Time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. See you at St. George's, Eliza.
Do stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough? And are you going to be reasonable, or do you want any more?
You want me back to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Indeed, then what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you come back, I shall treat you just as I've always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she was a duchess.
And I treat a duchess as if she was a flower girl.
I see, the same to everybody.
Just so.
Like father.
Without accepting the comparison at all points, Eliza, it's quite true that your father is not a snob, that he will be quite at home in any situation of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having bad manners or good manners or any particular sort of manners, but having the same manners for all human souls, in short, behaving as if you were in heaven, where there are no third-class carriages and one soul is as good as another.
Amen, you are a born preacher.
The question is not whether I treat you rudely, but whether you have ever heard me treat anyone better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind your swearing at me. I don't mind having a black eye. I've had one before this. But I won't be passed over.
Then get out of my way, for I won't stop for you. You talk about me as if I were a motorbike.
So you are a motor bus. I'll bounce and go with no consideration for anyone. But I can do with you. I can do without you. I let you see if I line.
Don't think I can.
Don't think I can't.
I know you can. I told you you could.
I know you did, you brute. You wanted to get rid of me.
fire.
Thank you.
You never asked yourself, I suppose, whether I could do without you.
Don't you try to get round me. You'll have to do without me.
I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But I shall miss you, Eliza. I have learnt something from your idiotic notions. I confess that humbly and gratefully. And I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on. It's got no feelings to hurt.
I can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings, and you can take away the voice in the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a line.
You are a devil.
Oh, you are a devil. You can twist the heart in a girl as easily as some can twist her arms to hurt her. Mrs. Pierce warned me. Time and again she has wanted to leave you, but every time you got round to her at the last minute. And you don't care a bit for her, and you don't care a bit for me.
I care for life, for humanity. You're a part of it that has come my way and been built into my house. What more can you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza. Like selling violets, isn't it?
Don't sneer at me. It's mean to sneer at me.
I've never sneered in my life. Sneering doesn't become either the human face or the human soul. I'm expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and finding my spectacles. You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? I think a good deal more for you for throwing them in my face. No use slaving for me and then saying you want to be cared for. Who cares for a slave? If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. You've had 1,000 times as much out of me as I have out of you. And if you dare to set up your little dog tricks of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of Duchess Eliza, I shall slam the door in your silly face.
What did you do it for if you didn't care for me?
Why? Because it was my job.
You never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Would the world have ever been made if the maker had been afraid of making trouble? Making life means making trouble. There's only one way of escaping trouble, and that's killing things. Cowards, you notice, are always shrieking to have troublesome people killed.
I am no creature. I don't notice things like that. I notice that you don't notice me.
Eliza, you're an idiot. I waste the treasures of my melodic mind by spreading them before you. Once for all, understand that I may go my way and do my work without caring 2 pence what happens to either of us. I am not intimidated like your father and your stepmother. So you can come back or go to the devil, which you please.
What am I to come back for?
For the fun of it. That's why I took you on.
You can turn me out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Yes? And you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
And live with my stepmother?
Yes, or sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to my flower basket. Then I should be independent of both you and father and all the world. Oh, why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up? I'm a slave now for all my fine clothes.
Not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you'd like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I wouldn't marry you if you asked me, and you're nearer my age than what he is.
Then he is, not then what he is.
I speak as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as I am.
Line.
That's not what I want.
That's not what I want. I've had chaps enough wanting me that way. Freddie Hill writes to me 2 and 3 times a day, sheets and sheets.
Damn his impotence.
He has a right to if he likes, and he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Freddie's not a fool. And if he's poor and loves me, maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
Can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him. But I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie, is that it?
No, I don't. That's not the sort of feeling I want from you. Line.
And don't you be too sure of yourself.
Don't you be too sure of yourself or of me. I could have been naughty if I'd liked. Girls like me can I've seen more of some things than you for all your learning. Girls like me can drag you gentlemen down to make love to them easy enough. And they wish each other dead the next minute.
Of course they do. Then what in thunder are we quarreling about?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm a common, ignorant girl and you a book-learned gentleman, but I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly-like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel. How Pickering feels.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get if you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you'll have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time sniveling over you and the other half giving you black eyes. If you can't stand the coldness of my sort of life and the strain of it, go back to the gutter. Work till you're more a brute than a human being, and then cuddle and squabble and drink till you fall asleep. Oh, it's a fine life, the life of the gutter. It's real, it's warm, it's violent. You can feel it through the thickest skin. You can taste it and smell it without training or any work. Not like science and literature and classical music and philosophy and art. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, don't you? Very well, be off with you. To the sort of people like you. Marry some sentimental hog or other with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time you're nothing but a bully. Lie.
You know I can't go back
You
to
know
the
I
gutter.
can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know I can't go back. You know I can't live with a low, common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I must come back to Wimpole Street because I have nowhere else to go but father's, but don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked down. I am marry Freddie, I will, as soon as he's able to support me.
Rubbish. You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor General of India, or Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I'm not having my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that, but I haven't forgotten what you said a minute ago. And I won't be coaxed round as if I was a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'd have independence.
Independence. That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
Well, you'll teach in heaven's sake.
What you taught me, I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as a assistant to Professor Napier.
What? That impostor? That humbug? That tottering ignoramus? Teach him my methods, my discoveries. You take one step in this direction, I'll wring your neck.
Ring away! See if I care! I knew you'd strike me someday! Line.
Aha.
Aha! Line.
Now I know how to deal
Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was not to have thought of this before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. You said I had a finer ear than you and I could be kind and civil to people, which is more than you can. Aha! That's done, you Henry Higgins, it has. Now I don't care that for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers that your Duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody else to be a Duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. Oh, when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and lying,
Called names.
called names, when all the time I had only to lift up my finger to be just as good as you, I could just kick myself.
You damned impotent wrench, you. But it's better than sniveling, better than fetching slippers and fine spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes. You turn around and make up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were like a millstone round my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a corset in battle. You and I and Pickering will be three old bachelors together instead of 2 men and a silly girl.
is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Oh, certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Well, then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8s, and a tie to match that new suit of mine at Eel and Binman's. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled that girl, Henry. It doesn't matter. I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
Oh, don't bother. She'll buy them all right enough. Goodbye. She'll buy them.
Okay, actors can go home. Thank you so much.
Well done, actors. That was awesome.
Thank you. I tried. I'm a wonderful woman. One of my feet is asleep, and it's very weird to walk into. I'm like, I'm already bad enough in heels. Thank you, by the way. I just didn't want it because they asked me to. I would have felt bad if I didn't know what you were doing. I didn't want to explain it behind the scenes.
I just wanted to.
I really appreciated it.
Sorry that was all on me.
You're fine. No, I would have given it to you, but I was like, I don't want to try to explain to him what he needs to be looking for.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it still.
You did very good.
Oh, thank you. I'm wonderful, Henry. I'll be auditioning for the next time we do Pygmalion. Thank you.
I think you should.
Could do a
Literally the
gender.
We should do a gender bending.
I'm in. Yes.
I don't think so. We definitely at some point should run that last.
Yeah, something got a little weird.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna post things a little cheeky.
Yes, thank you so much. They're amazing.
You can bring those up and look at them while you're.
Yeah, I did. I still got confused.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank
I'll
you.
put those back to you. We'll run it a couple more times to just get it in the system.
Okay, do you want to do that tonight or no?
No, we won't.
Okay,
It's longer. We'll do it earlier on another day.
Got it.
We can do one out.
Okay.
Work.
Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure what went wrong is I spent so long trying to find the stool and the chair because I could not find them.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
But when we have everything spiked, it's not going to be a
Yeah.
problem. Because I was willing.
Yeah, sorry, I grabbed them because I thought I was going to them, and I set them down to go do the other thing.
I was like looking around. I was like, where? Oh.
Yeah, sorry, it's really
You're fine. I'm gonna run downstairs and get myself. Oh, I got my shoes away. Thank you, Paul. Thank you guys. Thank you. Do you need me for anything before I go?